Now, as most of you guys already know, a couple of days ago, Ready or Not officially launched on consoles, and the reception has been mixed to say the least. Now, if you just looked at the console side of things, you'd probably think that everything was going great. It has a ton of active users, and most of the new players on Xbox and PlayStation seem to be pretty happy with their experience overall. They're finally getting access to one of the most intense tactical shooters out there, and on the surface, it seems like it's been a huge win for Void. But if you take a look over on the PC side of things, it is a completely different fucking story. People are burning the subreddit to the ground. I mean, they're leaving negative reviews en masse, and trust me, right, as someone who's been playing this game for a really long time, I can tell you that this update did not land smoothly. PC players have been reporting a pretty noticeable downgrade in the game's quality, from the graphics to the gameplay stability to just a general sort of off feeling that they've been noticing while they play the game. And even with all of the noise and drama and bullshit that the community's gone through the last couple of weeks, a lot of the criticism that I've heard recently is pretty valid, and I think we're at a point now where it needs to be discussed in a more public forum, and that's what I aim to do today. So let me start with the issue that's the most important to me, the game's performance. I've been trying to record footage for this game over the past couple of days, and it has been an absolute nightmare. I've had to redo clips over and over and over again because my game just keeps crashing. And this isn't a thing that just happened once or twice. No, I'm talking about consistent, repeatable crashes that ate up hours of my time. And this is a thing that wasn't happening before. Now, to Void's credit, they did drop a hotfix pretty quickly, and that actually helped quite a bit. But the crashes, for me anyway, haven't completely stopped, and I'm still getting them way more frequently than I was before this update. And to me, that's kind of irritating, right? Especially when, weirdly, the actual in-game performance is better than what it used to be. When I'm actually able to get into a game, I'm getting way more frames per second all across the board, which sounds like it would be a huge win, but this also came with a pretty steep trade-off. That trade-off being some of the game's visual fidelity. To put it plain and simple, the game just doesn't look as good as it did before. The textures look muddier, the lighting is flatter, and some of the small environmental details have been completely taken away. Now, I'll be honest with you guys, right? I'm not really one of those people that obsesses over graphics. I mean, I'll take better performance and smoother gameplay over graphics any day of the week, but I'm not going to pretend that this isn't an issue here. This is a pretty dramatic downgrade, in my opinion. If you compare footage side by side, pre-update versus post-update, the difference is undeniable. And while someone like me might be able to look past that, I understand that a lot of other players can't. Ready or Not's supposed to be one of the most immersive tactical shooters out there. It literally sells itself on its realism, and naturally, graphics are a big part of that. So for a lot of people in the community, this isn't just a minor issue, this is a massive step backwards. And speaking of steps backwards, I feel like we need to talk about the new animations. Now, some of the new animations that have been added to the game are great. Personally, I really like the new door kicking animation. I feel like it looks good, it feels good to me. I really like that one. But there are a few of the new animations that feel awkward and unnatural, and some are to the point where it's almost laughable. There's one arrest animation in particular that really stands out to me, and I imagine you guys probably already know the one I'm talking about, but you cradle the suspect's head in between your hands, and then you sort of like half-heartedly knee them in the back. It's so strange. It's really odd. I think that I can almost kind of get what they were trying to go for here, but they completely missed the mark with the execution. In my opinion, the older animations felt smoother, more realistic, and a lot more in line with the serious tone that Ready or Not usually strives for. And this one is just kind of silly. But you know, this sort of change raised a really important question with me. Why? Why would you alter something that's already worked perfectly fine? Why would you try and fix something that wasn't really broken? A lot of people in the community have also raised a lot of questions regarding the game's AI after the update. And to be honest with you guys, the SWAT AI hasn't really changed all that much. I didn't notice any significant improvement or downgrade to them. But it is worth noting that they still bunch up in doorways and get themselves killed way more than they should. So Void, if you happen to be listening, Please fix the pathfinding on the SWAT officers. The enemy AI, on the other hand, has changed. Now, maybe it's just me, but it feels like every time that I engage with one enemy, the entire map pinpoints my location and just comes sprinting towards me. Now, in theory, that sounds pretty cool, right? I mean, you'd think it'd lead to these huge, chaotic gunfights that test your skills under pressure, but in practice, it just means that I hold up on one side of the hallway and mow enemies down as they approach. All of that tension sort of just disappears. That slow, methodical room clearing experience that Ready or Not's famous for, it turns into a shootout in a hallway followed by 10 minutes of silence. It just doesn't feel right to me. Now, I'm not sure if the game is just bugged on my end, because Void has reported that there are a lot of bugs that they're working on right now, but I think that that's still something worth keeping an eye on. It's also worth mentioning that several players have reported bugs with CS gas and flashbangs not working properly, enemies not reacting to being shot, and several other issues that have just been taking players out of the experience. Now, since these are such critical bugs, I imagine that in the coming days, Void will probably have them fixed with patches. But as of right now, the first week of this release, it has been an issue for people, and I feel like you guys need to know about it. But now, let's talk about what you guys probably clicked on this video for: the console release and censorship. Now, before the launch, Void told players that missions like Valley of the Dolls, Neon Tomb, and Elephant would remain completely unchanged, at least on the PC version of the game. But their messaging made a lot of people, myself included, believe that those missions would remain unchanged on console as well. But here's the thing: they didn't. In the console version of Valley of the Dolls, the in-game photos of Janie Vole in that red room at the ending of the mission have been replaced with pictures of porcelain dolls. And to be honest, in my eyes, it feels like it completely removes the impact of that level. I was actually really supportive of Void when they first addressed the censorship concerns, because to me, they seemed like they were being really transparent with us. They laid out the situation very plainly, and for the most part, the changes felt minor and respectful to the original tone of the game. But this one feels like they almost intentionally let it slip through the cracks. It was never mentioned, it was never clarified, and yet it affects the story of the game in a pretty major way. Most of the censorship in Ready or Not so far has been really minor. It hasn't impacted the story much at all, but this one does. And although it only impacts the console version of the game, I still think that it's a bridge too far. Console players should be able to play the level as intended, and now it just feels like it's watered down. So much of Ready or Not's identity rests upon these gritty stories that it tells, and when you take those moments away, you're left with just another regular game. And here's the kicker in all of this, right? The censorship, the changes, all of this was done in the name of crossplay. Void told us that they had to make the PC and console versions of the game match in order to make it crossplay compatible. And as of right now, the crossplay is kind of broken. Tons of players have already reported server issues, saying they can't connect, they can't join games. Some people say they can't even get multiplayer to launch. So Void made all of these sacrifices and all of these changes to enable a feature that, as of right now, only works about half of the time. It's insanely frustrating. Now, this very well could be a thing of where there's just an intense volume of players and the servers can't handle it. But after all of the stuff that's happened with the game over the last couple of weeks, I think PC players have earned the right to be a little bit upset. But I don't want to pretend like everything in this update has been bad either. Void deserves credit where it's due, and it turns out they actually listened to some of the concerns that we had regarding the game. For instance, one of the ones that I personally had was the new command wheel coming to the game, and luckily Void has provided us with a pretty great alternative. If you're one of the people like me who find it a little bit cumbersome, there's a quick fix. You can actually switch it to the original command list in the settings, and honestly, it's way easier to use. So if you're playing on controller and you're struggling with the wheel, I'd recommend flipping that option on. The new content in this update, the maps and the weapons, are pretty great too. My favorite new addition of the bunch though is Stolen Valor. It's got this really creepy Seven inspired vibe to it, and the entire apartment complex is just really eerie and odd, and I love it. It's awesome. The layout of this map is really unique too, and it actually challenged me in a way that the other missions haven't for a while, and I think it has a ton of replay value. Fast Food is a really well put together map too. When I play that, it gives me a little bit of the Chinese restaurant vibes from SWAT 4. I feel like they packed a ton of detail and subtle storytelling into it. And I can't wait for my lore episodes on these because they're going to be really fun. The new weapons are also just amazing, dude. That new shotgun, the mag-fed shotgun, I've been melting people with. George Brixley's been having a very bad couple of days with me. I'm also a pretty big fan of the new grenade launcher. Now, I haven't been able to use that one as much, but I think it's got potential to be a really fun weapon to use in multiplayer, so I'm really excited for that one. But here's the thing with all of this, right? And this is sort of the core of my frustration. As great as the new content here is, it's hard to fully enjoy it when so much else feels like it's been broken. This has kind of become a pattern with Ready or Not, right? Every time a big update drops, we get some really cool stuff added, but there's a ton of other things that get broken in the process. And Void, if you guys happen to be watching this, I'm saying this out of love, right? I love this game. I mean that genuinely. And I want to see you guys succeed because you've enabled me to succeed on this platform. But it's hard to keep the excitement alive sometimes when every step forward feels like it's coming with 2 steps back. And I feel like given the state of the community with how split everyone's been, they could have really used a win. Just a nice, basic, simple content update. But it's kind of hard to be excited for it when it's got a lot of these extra bugs and stuff attached to it. And don't get it twisted, right? I'm still very hopeful for this game's future. There's been a lot of doomers online right now that are trying to make it seem like the game is just dead. Like no one's playing it, nothing good's going on, when in reality, the player base has never been higher. There's more people playing Ready or Not right now than there ever have been. And in reality, at the end of the day, all this was a rough update. So I have hope that Void is working hard to remedy these issues. They've already released one hotfix, and I'm sure that we can assume to see more right around the corner. But I can understand if a couple of you guys are a little less trustworthy, especially after all that's happened the last few weeks. But what do you guys think of this situation though? Am I being a bit too dramatic, or am I not being dramatic enough? Be sure to let me know down in the comments below. But as always, thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch today's video. You know I love you. I'm out.